Lonna Kelly, and this is Hudson Valley Art Speak. Thanks for watching with us today. We're going to be talking to Liliana Washburn, who is a painter and a writer. And welcome, Lily.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming today.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we visited once before, and but I know that you've brought some new work to show us, and we're going to talk about some new directions that you're moving in.
Okay. Last time we had an interview, I was talking about the transition between my inks, and I was starting my work with acrylics.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to experiment with acrylics the same way I use my inks. So I created some techniques that are the same. And here I'm experimenting with different materials and different techniques for my acrylics. What I didn't realize when I was doing that last year is that I was creating also figures in my work.
Mm-hmm.
I was becoming an abstract artist, but towards more representational, even though I'm very abstract still. And I just realized that last week, putting the work together, because I use InDesign, and when I'm going to a show or I'm doing something, I put everything in a piece of paper that it represents my wall, and then I distribute that. And as I was doing that, I could see that here I have a figure, there I have a figure, and here I have a figure.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And if you look through it, even in my inks, I started with doing the figure. There is a work called Liliana, which is the largest work I have sold, and it is a couple. In the painting is a couple for me. Other people see it in another way. And at that time I couldn't realize that yet, but now I do. And so I'm thinking and developing this more and more, but I have the desire to learn how to do the figure better, in a better way. And I also have a fear that if I learn how to do it, I'm going to lose that freedom of the abstract, which I really don't want to lose. So it's kind of a little conflict.
Sort of a tug of war you're going through right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, tell me about this one. This one is obviously, well, not obviously, but I certainly see a couple embracing.
Yes. What happened was at the beginning I made portraits, several portraits, even in the ink, and then transitioning. Here I have a figure and here I have a couple. So what's happening, I'm becoming more complex in my work. And the technique I'm using here is graffito, which will carve or scrap the surface to show the innermost layer. And I think that has to do with me, with my desire of having people get to know me for what I am. So the technique is kind of a representation of my actual feeling right now.
Kind of scratching your surface and finding
And
what's
get me
underneath
knowing,
it.
yes, deeply.
Yeah. So where would you start? Would you start with the yellow and then build up and then
No.
scrape off?
That's what is different with my work. I don't mix the colors. I let them mix on the paper. I use wet on wet, and I let the colors blend.
Mm-hmm.
Then I use the graffito to create the first image, and then I do layer over layers on that, and that's what creates that effect. It's a process that I'm still learning. That is a lot for me to learn because I started painting, I was 37 years old, so I'm kind of a baby.
You're just getting started, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Last time we talked, you were doing a lot of, you were doing some flowers, and I think that was with the ink on Yupo, yes?
Yes, but I also have that in acrylics on Yupo. And I always thought, like, why I'm going to paint flowers, you know, the subject.
Yeah.
But it comes up, somehow it comes up again and again. And I decided to call my work Human Nature because it's a mixture of both. They disintegrate among them, and it's a combination. If you look at the figure is merging into nature, and vice versa. Even when I paint like animals, I don't have the intention to paint animals, but they show up in my work anyway. So when people see that in my work and they share with me that idea of I see a snake or I see a tiger, I see anything, and it really happens. And if you see the image of an animal in my work, it's also blending with nature. So there is always this camouflage effect. It's not intentional. It is how it is.
Yeah. So when you sit down to do a painting, what's in your mind?
I try not to have any thought when I start a painting. I try to really go with the white paper and let the ink or the acrylic mix because it's wet on wet. Then the image starts forming it, and in my mind, and as I see it, it creates different images, and I work with that. So I create the white space if I feel I need to for the image that is creating. But as it moves and as it blends, the image keeps changing and changing and changing until I get to the final design, which is more a feeling than I have a design. I'm not really worried about design, even though I think I should, but I'm more interested in the feeling that I'm having when I'm painting. Am I able to express exactly how I feel at that moment? That's what I want the most.
And then at some point you know it's done.
Yes,
yeah.
Because I don't have that feeling anymore. I don't have that need to express something. The work is done. And if I don't feel that way, I can put the work aside, I can work it again, and I just keep going through the process again and again and again until I feel it's fine, this is what I wanted to say.
So you'll take the same painting and basically just keep adding to it until you feel like it's done?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah. How is it different? How different is it now working in acrylic on the Yupo paper as opposed to working with the inks?
It's very different because acrylics dries really fast, and the inks takes a longer time to dry, so you can rework and wait and do all the work. With the acrylics, you have to work really fast through the layers. So you do a fast layer, and then you do another, and then you do a layer where you can use a material that it has a long time to dry. And so it's very different. And I think that is important too, because the two materials allow me to show different experiences in feeling. I cannot express the same feeling, I don't think, with the inks as I can with my acrylics.
Yeah, and the Yupo paper is non-absorbent. So if you worked with the paper, a fiber paper, it would be a whole different experience again.
Yes.
Yeah. These smaller paintings that you did, are they on Yupo also?
They are, and they are my first experience with watercolors on Yupo paper. And this painting, for example, I had an intention there. I wanted to paint an eye. I have eyes in a lot of my works, or the circle. That's what I wanted. But then the whole figure came alive, and that's what it is.
Yeah, it's very different from what I usually see you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And last year I showed for my 4x4s that are non-representational and geometrical. So here I am also switching from that. It's a 4x4, but it's different than what I had before.
Yeah. Now, Lily, you sometimes write poetry.
I do.
And it's poetry that goes with your paintings?
I wrote them separately, but last year, December, I started reading through them, and I realized that some of the poetry go together with some of my paintings. So I'm putting, as they happen, I'm putting them
together?
Yes.
Yes. So, and you have a piece that you wrote for this painting here?
I do.
Would you like to read it to us? Yeah, that would be great.
This painting is called The Journey, so the poetry has the same name, The Journey. And here we go. When I look at my artwork, I travel places I have never been. I long for these infinite spaces that exist in all of us. When my work comes to life, that space lives inside me. We are one. When my work comes to life, there is a sense of loneliness and union, a sense of timelessness and freedom. In this marvelous space, I find the person I have always been.
So you said a sense of loneliness. Do you feel when you complete a painting something is gone from you, maybe?
It's kind of, yes.
Yeah.
But I paint, the major part of my work is done and when I'm alone. And I don't listen to music, it's complete silence. And I like that way. I have tried to listen to music, but it's not, doesn't have the same feeling for me.
It distracts you.
It distracts me,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I like to have that pure energy, that be just me in that silent and create whatever image comes to my mind.
So do you ever exhibit the two as pairs, the painting with the poetry?
I just start posting some in Facebook, but that's all.
Not in the
For
galleries
curiosity,
yet.
no.
No.
Yes, there is one of them in for artists at the Front Street Gallery that I had a little work there. And actually, Jeremy Wolf is the one that brought to my attention that my writing was like a poetry. And then after that, I continued writing, and that was in January of 2013. And from January of 2013, I probably have about 15, 20 of them. Not all of them are poetry or something that I like, but it's interesting that this is happening.
Yeah. Now, something that you've been doing that's new.
Okay. I'm volunteering for Holmes Valley Lake Civic Association. And we are getting artists there and people that are known artists in a space called the Creative Space. I'm hosting this space for people who want to get together and paint, rather than talk about art, but do the work of painting. And Susan Twaddell, who's the president, she runs several programs there that are Connie Barton that does yoga, and she does exercise. There is exercises for elderly people or senior people. And Susan Twaddell has a soup days on Friday for seniors too.
But tell me a little bit about what people could expect if they went to the creative space.
Okay, they can expect it to share their ideas with other people. They get to know different materials because each person that comes in have their own material. We have some, and you can use some of the material that are for this program, and you can also share your own materials. There are demonstrations, and there is the sharing with that. I usually suggest a program to go with this creative space, but you don't have to follow the program. If you feel you want to do something else, you can do something else, because that's the idea, for you to do exactly what you wanted there, but use the space to create.
Right, and that's at the Holmes Valley Lake Civic Center.
Yes, and that's 239 Route 292 in Holmes.
In Holmes.
Yes.
Okay. Lily, we're running out of time.
Okay.
So I just wanted to, make sure that people heard about that you're doing that, and there's that opportunity. Thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.